We're exploring West Virginia. Today we are in Harrison County in a town called Shinnston, and we are going to talk about the oldest standing structure in north central West Virginia. We're exploring West Virginia. We are actually inside the Levi Shinn House. We have Bob Ice with us. He is the president of the Shinnston Historical Association. Now, Bob, I tell you what, this thing is the oldest standing structure in north central West Virginia, built in 1778.
Correct.
Now, the crazy thing, to put it in perspective, 1778, in that year was when the French, actually, our Revolutionary War was going on with England, but France actually got into it, and they started, King Louis declared war on England to kind of help us out. So we're talking about a very long stretch of time. To give us a little history about the house itself, about the Shinns and how they came and how they explored Virginia and how they ended up in Western Virginia and specifically here.
Shinn's actually John Shinn, who was Levi Shinn's great-grandfather, settled in New Jersey from England, and then the family started migrating a little south, I guess. The generations came into the Apple Pie Ridge area of Virginia, and Levi and his wife came to this part of what was then Virginia, but Levi's wife was actually a half-sister to Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith is who founded Smith Chapel area of Bridgeport, and that was settled before Shinnston was settled, so that may have been the reason that they came to this area, just to say, hey, let's go see your brother-in-law, or,
Yeah, and you know what, the thing that amazes me is when you look at the place, and it's been here for, over 200 years, and it's still standing, it's right here in Shinnston, and to think what this place looked like 200 years ago, just going from Bridgeport to settle here would probably be a heck of a
day trip. Yeah,
absolutely. Tell us a little bit about the house itself.
The house was built, of course, 1778. It was built with square logs. So whenever you're cutting down a tree, you don't just say, hey, let's build a house. You cut down the tree and then square the logs off. So that's taken a lot more time. But in having a squared log house, you're actually keeping the weather off of it. When it rains, when it snows, that weather doesn't sit on the logs, so you're preserving more time on your house is basically what you're doing. And it's a two-story structure, so you're talking that time period in this part of Western Virginia. Western Virginia was the woods, the mountains, the foresty area. To see a two-story structure, that was rare. You saw one story with a loft on top typically, so this is a complete two-story structure. And the chimney behind us here, the chimney is actually central to the house. That's rare. A centralized chimney takes up a lot of room in the middle of your house that a lot of people couldn't afford to give up. Plus you take a greater chance that if that fire gets out of control, and that's a huge fireplace, if that fire gets out of control, you're going to burn your house down. You don't have a way to keep it conforming.
And then, this is big.
Yes, it's massively big, and there's actually an identical one on the other side of it. So most people would have put that to the one end of their house, where if it got out of control, they could just go outside. You always kept a rope tied to your outside of your chimney. You could start pulling it away from your house and keep it under control. So
you know what?
You can't do that with this one. So
you know what? I've never really wondered why a chimney was on the outside of the house.
Yeah.
But now if it caught fire, because chimney fires, they were burning what?
You want to lose your whole house.
You know what? You learn something every day. That is very interesting. Here, though, you know what? They probably better make sure this thing is pretty well. Obviously, you can imagine how many fires have been in this place.
Absolutely. And we still put one in every Christmas when we do our little Christmas gathering here. We generally have a fire going all day long. It's open to the public, depending on. It's always weather dependent, so depending on whether people show up for it or not. But we're here. So.
Now give some people some details, like if they want to, because once again, this is history. It could you could imagine. I'm just thinking, 200 years ago, somebody was in this house. They were living up until what? 1972. Somebody was. It was a living house. But how can they get hold of you, or where can they learn more information about how they actually, about the house itself, or even maybe coming in to see the house?
We keep there's a sign in the window out front for myself and Kathleen Panet. Kathleen owns a bed and breakfast here in Shinnston. She and I are both fairly good. She's a little bit more good than I am about answering her phone, but I don't get service at work. So the two of us, our phone numbers are on there. They can contact us. But we're living the technology world, so a lot of people Facebook.
Sure.
We have a Facebook page for the house, and we have a separate Facebook account for the Historical Association. So between those two, we get messages on there and end up meeting people here. We don't Most museums and stuff have open times, open days. You know, those people are paid to be here. We're not paid to be here. We're volunteers, so we do it on our own time, and we try to accommodate people as much as we can.
Right, and then thank goodness for the Historical Association, because like I said, this is something that could have very easily either
Yeah.
fell down or got tore down. I mean, you have Route 19 right outside there. You know, this is prime property for something.
Correct. Yeah, and the development around the house was started in 1959. That was all farmland up until then. So the lumber company was also a construction company when they were building off the lots and developing the land. They just kept this land rented. They kept this house rented at the time. And then whenever the last house was built, they gave it to the Historical Association. But when the Historical Association took it over, it was a lived-in house. You had a kitchen with working things back there, and
Wow.
you had actually paneling was on the walls down here. You couldn't tell that it was a log structure when you first walked in. One of the fireplaces was boxed in. You didn't know that it was a fireplace behind it. So all that came out. They tried to restore the house, and Arch Moore, then governor of West Virginia, actually helped out a lot because he is a direct descendant of Levi Shins. So Shelley Moore Capito is as well. But they provided grant money from the American Bicentennial Commission, and that helped give a lot of money to bring the house back to as thought original condition as possible.
Right. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Bob, thanks for talking with us, brother.
Absolutely.
Thanks for talking with us. Once again, Facebook is going to be your best bet. I mean, just
Definitely,
Google
yeah.
the Shin House. You're going to find all kinds of stuff
Correct.
like that too, man. This is fantastic. It's right here in Shinston, and we are exploring West Virginia.